Welcome to today's webinar with Todd Hussey. He's going to be talking to us about websites and online marketing, which is a subject that is close to my heart. My name is Maude, and I'm part of the partner success team here at SureWeb. I'm a program lead for different programs that we have in house. And just before we get started, I wanted to take this moment to point your attention to the COVID Hub that we've put together. It has a ton of different assets for you to leverage in times of need. In this time of need, there's different resources on different products. There's the promotions that we have ongoing. So if you haven't seen it yet, it's a good asset for you guys. I will put the link in the chat. Other than that, you have a couple of handouts in the GoToWebinar panel that you can find. There's the remote work guide that we've put together. And I wanted to take a minute to talk about a campaign in a box that we just launched. It's a webinar that is white label for you to leverage, and you can find a full deck and a guide that goes with it where you can promote and leverage some banners that we've put together. I will also put the link in to the toolbox and to that specific content in the chat, so you guys can check it out and use it. If you have any questions, you can reach out to. Other than that, while you have the question section and GoToWebinar, feel free to ask any questions. And from time to time, I'll be stopping the webinar, or we can wait until the end, depending on how Todd prefers it. So Todd, over to you.
Well, thank you, Maude. Thanks, everyone. I have used to say I apologize if you hear things in the background, but I think that's today's new normal, where we're all working remote and wherever we are in our house or wherever. So you might hear some birds, which might be a good thing. So I'm out on my deck right now. So thank you. Let's get into this. We'd like to make these short and sweet, to be honest with you. Whenever I see a webinar or web shop that is advertised for 60 minutes or longer, I'm like, eh. So we're going to try and keep this again short and sweet, and hopefully, please, lots of questions that would really help us to understand the value that we're providing here. So it's all about becoming a cloud revenue producer. That's what our cloud revenue partners does. We help partners of all flavors, MSPs or VARs or whatever you want to call yourself, get into the cloud and make a profitable cloud business. So that's me, of course, right there. So what are these web shops about? This is web shop number 6 we've done so far. It's all about our methodology of building your cloud practice, and these are all recorded and Maude has them. The first one we did was about how to create your business outcomes value proposition, and that's all about not selling technology to techs any longer. It's about selling business outcome solutions. That's what the world is looking for, most especially in the COVID-19 effect, I should say, where people are trying to understand how to pivot their business. And that's your job, if you will, is to help them with business outcomes technologies. Then when we got into how do you define your target market, subverticals, and personas, and I'm going to say that's really, really important for you today, because the fact of life is some verticals, subverticals are going to suffer greatly, so they're probably not great prospects for you. And again, going back to it's the business managers that have the money today for technology, cloud-based predominantly. Then we last month we had a session about how to build your solutions out of the SureWeb stack, if you will, that are all about helping customers achieve their desired business outcomes. Today we're going to talk about again one of Maude's favorite topics, which is digital marketing. But we're going to make it really simple and talk about your website. But I will say, if you haven't created your business outcomes value proposition and formulated that and documented that, as well as define your target market personas, subverticals, and create your solutions, you really have to do those 3 things first, because that's what's going to go on your website. So let's get into some website basics, but let's kind of set this up. So again, yes, we're talking about the 5 priorities in your website. I'm going to reference your website should not be a Ferrari. It should be an Audi A4 as an example. Nobody is looking at or cares to read big websites with lots of text that is meaningless. They're looking for very quickly to understand what's in it for them and what value you can provide to them specifically. So, but let's first talk about opportunity. And we always use these slides up front. The opportunity is actually quite is massive, to put it bluntly. The opportunity is the digital business transformation market. It's a $6 trillion market, and that's what customers are doing today. And I'm going to show you in a quote in a second from the CEO of Microsoft that makes a lot of sense. So there's the big market on the right. What's on the left? That's SureWeb. So they are the place for you as a partner to go to get all the solutions, cloud solutions and services that your clients must have to become digital. And I'm going to use the word must have quite often here. So there's a big space, a white space in the middle. What's that? That's you. The Gartner has been saying for years now that the cloud services brokerage, I'm going to make it simple and call you a cloud solutions provider, is the single largest revenue growth opportunity in cloud, bar none. So this is you. This is your opportunity to be the advisor, or whatever word you want to use, to advise your clients and guide them to be digital. What just happened? 60 days ago, COVID-19 accelerated these overnight. Every business in the world is trying to figure out how to become digital. But what are the facts of life here as we try and do this? Your cheese has moved. A famous book by Dr. Spencer Johnson, talking about people's cheese moves during their lifetime. What do I mean by this? Your cheese used to be the IT person, the technical people. They are no longer, they're becoming much less relevant in buying technology. It's now becoming in the hands of the business managers, have the budget increasingly to buy technology. And this is a challenge, but it's a massive opportunity because you used to have one person with budget. Now you have multiple people to sell to, whether it's the person that runs finance or sales or marketing or HR. They all have budget and they're all buying cloud on their own. And what do they want? They don't want technology. They want business outcome solutions, as I've been saying. So this is a paradigm shift. And this is a paradigm shift that we work with clients, partners all the time to help them understand and to provide the tools and training to be able to sell to these people. Again, why did I rob the bank? Well, they have the money. These business managers have the money. But guess what? They're out looking for solutions on their own, and they are buying on their own, which is dead center to what we're talking about today in a website. So the CFO is having a glass of red wine at night, and he is searching online for solutions for his business to achieve his desired business outcomes. So that's one part. They are out searching. There are many stats talking about buyers make decisions on what they're going to buy and from whom before they actually go to the salesperson. And Mode, you probably know that as well as anybody.
Yes, there's about 79% of the buyer's journey that's been done before they actually talk to a salesperson.
Yep. And having a website that speaks to them is paramount in this whole process. And so what that also means is when you go talk to the buyer, they're smart because they've done the research. So we need to be smart as well. And we need to understand them much better than we used to. What are the pains of the business people? for any particular, persona or vertical and sub-vertical. So these are challenges, these are facts, but the opportunity is massive like we've never seen before. And again, COVID-19 accelerated these overnight. And one thing that's really important, and I talk to my clients all the time about this, and this relates directly to your website as well. Your value proposition went from it's okay to have a nice to have. Your value proposition in your website must articulate you have a must-have value proposition today. In any times, whether it's the 01.com crash or the 08-09 financial crash, and I just wrote a blog on this morning. Partners need to pivot to understanding that buyers are only going to do something today that is a must-have for them. So you're looking for validation of the digital business transformation? One sentence says it all, and this blows my mind. COVID-19 impacts every aspect of our work and life. We've seen in 2 years worth of digital transformation in 2 months. Just think of that. Every business in the world has been thinking about becoming digital, has been thinking about being like an Amazon where they're completely digital and the customer experience is A+, and they're ruining the lives of their competitors. Everyone's been thinking about how to do that. Everyone has just been forced to be able to do it. And again, I'm going to go back to it's your job to go help your customers become digital because they're starting to do it right now. They just did it enabling a remote workforce, but that was step one. So just a couple of other things here. I mentioned on the left here, Forrester says that 65% of technology decisions are being influenced and made by business executives. I can't underscore that. And again, that goes directly to your website. Your website has to be talking business speak to the business people. And it is what it is. On the right, if you've ever read a phenomenal ebook series that Microsoft put out several years ago, one of the ebooks talks a lot about digital marketing, and it's a guide, if you will, of how their partners need to become digital marketers. And one aspect is they rated websites of many of their partners and they scored them. So this is another validation that Microsoft's trying to get their partners to become digital marketers. We and SureWeb are hopefully educating partners on becoming digital marketers, and the emphasis or the relevance of the website has never been more important. So let's get into that a little bit. So when I see websites of partners, and Mode, you probably see the exact same thing. I'll give my experience, and maybe Mode, you can pop in as well. What we really preach is number one, simple. I see many, not just partners, but businesses thinking more is better. More text is better. More pages are better. Well, I think in our world today, I'm here in Boston, and Harvard University, this is silly, but it's fact, just did a study on the attention span of people, of a human being. And they say our attention span is now shorter than that of a goldfish. Whatever that means, I don't know. But the net is people's attention spans, me included. I'm going to go to a website, and if it's too complicated for me, I'm just going to bounce off the homepage. So simple is really important here. Number two, we are in education mode. Selling now is educating our prospects. We are not selling, we're educating. And as you're educating, you're nurturing them down their path, not our path. Again, it's the buyer's journey. So a major goal of your website should be educational content, thought leadership. Another one is, we spoke about this earlier. Speak business value to your personas. What we don't want to do is speak technology as we used to. Speaking business value to your personas that you've focused on is really important. We happen to like using visuals and videos. We happen to be a HubSpot partner, and at one of the most recent HubSpot, if you know HubSpot, they're one of the largest digital marketing platforms in the world. And they have a conference every year here in Boston of thousands of marketers. And one thing that they recently came out, it said, which I believe, visuals or videos are the new text. That makes complete sense to me. I'd rather watch a 2-minute video to get the information, not a 15-minute video, by the way. A 2-minute video, I want to see, and I want to see kind of to visualize things. And also, of course, you have to have offers. You have to give to get in this world. And an offer could be a simple infographic where they have to fill out a form. An offer could be, we're doing a webinar like we're doing here. An offer could be a free assessment. I don't know, Mo, do you want to add to this at all?
Absolutely. So when you say offer, I believe that you mean any piece of content that is gated, that has a certain amount of value.
Yep.
And usually when you want to gate content too, you want to make sure that the content has enough value to ask for someone's information. It's kind of like paying for that content with your email, for example. And so depending, usually it's an ebook, or I've seen calculators too, especially for platform as a service and stuff like that. The assessment is also a good example, but you also want to make sure that the fields that you put in the form are related to the content. So for example, if you decide to gate an infographic, you could ask only for the email because it's not too valuable that you can ask for a phone number, for example. But if you do have a calculator or some tools that they can use and leverage in their day-to-day business, then you can afford to ask a little bit more.
That's a great point. One pet peeve of mine is when I go and I want this piece of content, and then I go to the form and it's asking me, oh God, they want this. Oh God, they want this. Oh, forget it. I don't want that because it's just too hard. We have to make it, unless it's incredibly compelling. That's why in the digital marketing world, we call pieces of content top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel content based on the journey that the person's going through. If they're just visiting your website for the first time and is browsing around, just an infographic type thing as an example would be barely gated, name and email address. But as you get more deeper into the content, and as Moded said, how much value it provides, thus you're going to ask for more information. So is that fair, Mode?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's get into let's show a couple websites as examples of simple educational business value to personas, just to give you some examples of what we think at Cloud Revenue Partners are good examples. Again, we're not talking Ferraris. We're talking Audi A4s that are just showing the quote unquote value that they do, and makes it really simple. Here is an MSP that is getting very heavily into the cloud business. And they decided to make quite a few videos. These are animated explainer videos, and I'm kind of big fans of these. But if I look at it right now, it speaks to me that they're in the cloud business. They drive desired business outcomes. Now, a technical person might come onto this and say, that's not very interesting to me. But that's okay, because you got to remember, who has the budget today are the business people. So this speaks business outcomes, desired business outcomes. and it talks about some of the personas that they cater to. And not just, these are just examples. And here's a CTA for a free assessment. And up top, it's like, oh, okay, who are these guys? Well, let's look at who they are. This is the methodology that they wanted to go through, and it's a 1 minute and 47-second animated explainer video to go through what they do. Again, a CTA, and again, we have accolades all throughout this. That's who we are. Well, what do these guys do? So now I'm thinking as if I'm a potential client. So I know who you are. What do they do? Okay. Another, we have the CTA. We have another accolade. So it's simple for me. This isn't a ton of text that I need to read. And I can come back to this anytime I want and say, okay, I've had enough for now. Now we're talking about who they do it for. And in this again, it's a 1 minute 42-second animated explainer video. This is a whiteboard video here, just to give you a flavor of it. And who are our clients? And now it's going to start. Now it's going to start talking about the fact that they're going after the business people. And it's kind of the crescendo here is what's in it for you? What's the business value that we can provide you guys? And now here's some resources. They have a blog, of course. They have recordings of webinars that are gated. Okay, back to Mode's point, because this is considered pretty valuable pieces of content. So these are gated. So this would go to a form to fill out, and we would get the information. And then we also have a bunch of videos, vlogs, if you will, that are not gated. I happen to do vlogs with this client once a week or so. Education, thought leadership, and it makes CMH Solutions look really smart in the cloud world. They happen to do a lot of business with law firms. So we do educational and thought leadership specific for law firms and others. But every week it's a topic, and these are typically about 2-minute videos. And we use these also to post on within emails. We use these also to post on LinkedIn and other social outlets. So this is one example of he likes the videos. He likes, less words, less text, but it kind of fits the bill of simple CTAs and so on. Here's an example of a one-page website. That's not a bad thing. It's quite simple. We are digital business transformation experts. Digital business transformation is a matter of survival. In this, he educates his customers on digital business 101. What is it? So again, we're catering to people that are just looking. That's okay, because a lot of clients don't understand what being digital is. We use examples of Amazon, Netflix, Uber. We also talk about the personas and the value of what being digital is and how MPT Tech caters to these people because they all have different business needs, as different personas. Then they get into their expertise and so on and so on. And they also have a methodology. So this is a very, very, very simple one-page website. Again, let's have a 45-minute call to do a digital business transformation assessment. So here's an example of really simple, but gets the message across to the people that we want to get the message across to. Here's another one, and they are a VAR, if you will, that is becoming a cloud solutions provider. They're just beginning the journey. And it talks about the COVID-19 effect, the digital business revolution. And it talks about, let's learn more. They also do voice solutions, cloud solutions. So they're not forgetting all of that legacy business. You click here, and it's quite simply, I want to learn more about what do you do in the digital business aspect of how you can help us become a digital business. Talk about cloud technologies and telecom services expertise. It talks about some bundles that they put together. It talks about the methodology and also, of course, a CTA. So this is someone that's just getting into the business. So I could go on and on and on and show you different websites, but the theme here continues to go back to simple, focused, offer, visuals, and it's a bit of a different world than we're used to, where it's all tech talk, where it's all words, where it's all, technical people will come on and sit there for half an hour reading technical information. It goes back to, who's the buyer today, and the attention spans just aren't there anymore. Mo, do you want to comment on any of these?
Yes. So I think that's something to keep in mind too, is that as you go through the website, you do show pages that are built to kind of get attachment and get an engagement from people. So the content is it's still searchable, right? It's still optimized for SEO, even if there's not a lot of content out there.
Yep. Yep.
But I'd like it if you could pitch in a little bit more deeper on the blog aspect and why you should have a blog on your website, because that's a page that is entirely different. Since the beginning, you've been mentioning that you want to keep it short. But because a blog is kind of it's a must-have for a website, maybe you can talk to us a little bit about the difference between the website and what should go in the blog.
Okay, so I'm sorry. So you said blog is in a B or V?
Blog, like
Okay,
written.
sure. So your website is sitting there, um, and you want to, and you hopefully have it SEO optimized. It's somewhat static, if you will. Think of your blog as content that you're putting out to the world. So you are putting it on LinkedIn. You are posting it on your website. You are doing 2 a week, just to pick a number. And so think of that as educational thought leadership content. Call it a mini version, and I won't say a mini version of your website, but it's content that you're putting out into the internet that's going to stay there forever. And when people are looking for, how do I bake a cake, you want your blog to pop up, and you want a CTA on that blog and a link to your website. So it's a way of creating relevant, and I'm going to use the words from HubSpot, remarkable content. People remark on it. And I can't emphasize enough that the quantity of content like blogs is wonderful, but the quality of the blog and the relevance of the blog is far more important. So it's a way to take, the guys at HubSpot will always say, spend half of your time creating the blog, but first half of your time on the title of the blog, right? The purpose of the blog, then getting into writing the blog, meaning you have to really think through it well, but it's content that you're putting out to the world to, hopefully the goal is to brand you and to drive traffic to your website, and also have a CTA on the blog to again to provide an offer. Is that what you're looking for, Mo?
Yeah, I just thought that, it would be a good point to kind of differentiate, because the blog is going to have a lot of pages on it.
Yep.
The website, you want to try to keep it kind of short, kind of to the point, and user centric in the user experience of the website. But as far as the blog goes, this is the part of your website that is supposed to expand, that you're supposed
Yes.
to
Yes.
publish
Yes.
multiple times a week. And every one of those blog article is basically a different door to your website,
Yes.
right? Because it
Yes.
is indexable by Google.
Yep.
We do have a question that is relevant. We did mention content being gated since the beginning of the webinar. So I want to make sure that everyone knows what a gated content is. So basically, when you do find either a blog article or a website that does have a piece of content that is interesting, then when you click somewhere, you do have a button, so the call to action, and then you get to a landing page that has a form on it, and that is how you do access the content. That content is said to be gated, so it is behind a form, and you have to give personal information to gain access to it.
Yep. So to go back to the blogs, here's the blog on my site. I think I have 100 and some odd blogs on here that are searchable, and it's again, it's all my thought leadership and education for my specific personas, and it's they are living and breathing.
Todd, I believe you're muted. We can't hear you. Can't hear you. So maybe while Todd fixes his microphone, I wanted to address maybe we've been saying the word persona a lot too. So if you don't know what a persona is, it's a semi-realistic um, representation of your ideal customer. So I know that Todd addressed it in a previous webinar, but if you weren't there, then you can you can Google it. There's a lot of tools and informations out there about it, but basically you want to go through your contact list and your customer base to see if there's a similarity, and if you're actually popular to the same kind of profile that comes back every so often. And if you do have in your database a client that is very similar, then you kind of create and document the profile of those people so that you can contact them further, and you can create the content that is tailored to what they're looking for. And by documenting it, then it's easier for you to get the questions that they want and write the proper content to address those issues. We still can't hear you. I know that you're not muted on our side, so it might be something to do with your microphone. All right, since Todd doesn't seem to have access to his microphone, on the screen you see a free offer that Todd is offering. It's a one-on-one business assessment where you can share your screen with them and he can go over some stuff with you. So if you're interested in this follow-up call, just you can write on the address that is at the bottom, and maybe Todd, if you want to add anything to what I just said, you can maybe put it in the chat and I can read it out. Chat, we can't hear you. Can you guys, I don't see any more questions. I'm not sure if you guys wanted to ask anything while maybe we. All right, so we can see Todd added a little bit of detail on the offering. So we have someone that asks if Todd will sign a non-disclosure when you do business with them. I'm assuming the thumbs up means yes. Okay, any more questions? Okay. If you guys don't have any more questions, then you're going to receive the recording for this webinar in the next 24 hours. And if you have any questions for Todd, his email address is on the screen. If you have any questions for us, you can reach me and my team at partnersuccess@sureweb.com, or just reach out to your account manager and they know where to find us. So hopefully you have a good Thursday, and see you again next month for the last webinar with Cloud Revenue Partner in Todd Hussey.